Track these 5 numbers if you want to become a millionaire. Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Thompson, the founder and financial advisor here at New Era Financial Planning. And in today's video, we'll go through the 5 metrics and ratios that you need to know and measure over time to become a millionaire. These are the numbers that we track with our members, both when they come in initially to see us and over time to make sure that they're progressing towards becoming a millionaire and achieving financial independence. So jumping in, first number that you want to track, and the overarching number for a lot of these, is your expenses. So this is essentially the budget and the cash flow. You need to know where all your expenses are and where your money is going, basically. We don't tend to get people to track their expenses on a day-to-day basis, keep receipts and that sort of thing. We do this over time and get people to check in their bank accounts and update it as needed. So the easiest way to do this is to get a copy of a budget. You can use ours if you don't have one. I'll send you a link, or I'll drop a link, down below, or I'll send you one out if you want to reach out to me. That way you can pop in all your expenses and the frequency that they come in. So if it's weekly groceries or petrol, it might be quarterly rates. And then that will calculate the annual figure for you. And you can also toggle between the frequency that you get paid. So if it's weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, you can work out what the expenses are on average over that period of time as well. Be a little bit more conservative in these ones. Things like gifts we include. So around Christmas time, for example, that's a higher expense, but we average it out over the year. That's something, for example, that people often underestimate, how much it goes in presents and gifts. Once you've calculated your expenses, add a 10% buffer. So we do this with our members as well. It gives us that extra buffer in there for unexpected and unplanned costs, but things that over time will come up. So these are things like your car needs repairs or more repairs than initially thought. Your dog needs to go to the vet and have an operation. So it's building that buffer in so that you're not needing to dip further into saving your cash reserve or put money onto the credit card after you've just paid it off. So as an example, if your annual expenses are $50,000 a year, a 10% buffer to that is $5,000. So you will use $55,000 as your annual expenses. All right, from there, the second thing that we measure and want to measure to become a millionaire, and we do with our members, is your savings rate. So as quite simply, this is the percent of your take-home pay that you're able to save for the long term. So a couple of things with this. When I'm talking about savings, it's not putting money into a bills account to use later. This is long-term savings that builds up your cash reserve, or once that's done, goes towards investing for your financial future. The second thing or part of this is use your take-home pay, so your net income and household income. So if it's just you working, that's fine. It's simple if you're a single person. If there's 2 people working, or there's family tax benefit or rental income, calculate all of that, but only what hits your bank account. So after tax, after fees, what hits your account is what we want to work on. It's your net income, or what we call disposable income. If it fluctuates a little bit, say you're overtime, say you're not on a set salary and you do different hours, work out the average over time and over quite a long period if possible, at least a quarter, if not half a year or a year, and then calculate that as a fortnightly or monthly figure to get the average. It won't be perfect, but at least you'll know the average over time. So once you've done that, work out that amount that you can save. The budget will show what your savings capacity is, or if you do already put away a certain amount, that's even better. So that way you can work out, say, for example, you put away $500 a fortnight and your take-home pay, in your total combined, so net take-home pay is $5,000 a fortnight. That's a 10% savings rate. So that's what we want to work towards, is aiming for at least 10%. The historical average in Australia is 7 to 8%. We're not good savers internally and with our members, and ideally for you, we want to aim towards 15 to 20%. Now we can do that over time. It's not necessarily easy to get to, especially today with interest rates and inflation. But the target and the goal is 15 to 20%. But at least as an initial aim, go for 10%. That money very quickly can go into a cash reserve or a cash buffer, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Once that's built up, that money then goes towards investing and building your investments, passive income, and ultimately that millionaire status. All right, third thing to track and measure over time is the debt to income ratio. So this, again, flows from your budget. It is the percentage of your take-home pay that goes towards debt repayments. So we're talking mortgage, car loans, personal loans, credit card payments if you don't pay those off, essentially everything. For this one, include rent. Internally, we include rent for this because we treat it similar to a mortgage. It's a cost that people need to live. So if you're renting, instead of having a mortgage, include this to work out your rent to income ratio, but also include any other debts you might have. So very simply, work out your total fortnightly or monthly repayments for all of those loans, debts, and or rent, and then that figure previously, your take-home pay for that same period. So if it's a month, say your take-home pay is $5,000 from all sources, that's what you get on average into your bank account, and you have $2,000 a month in loan and mortgage repayments. That gives you a 40%, what we call debt to income ratio. So 2,000 divided by 5,000 per month is 40%. The ideal number here is anywhere sort of 30% or under. Realistically, it's more like under 35% is still okay in this day and age. Once you start getting above 35 and in this example 40 and above, you're getting into mortgage stress territory and debt stress territory. So we want to make sure that the amount of mortgage and or debts, loans, or repayments that you've got is still at a comfortable level. So internally, for example, with our members, as they upgrade their finances in their life, whether it's upgrading their home, buying an investment property, borrowing to invest in shares, we want to do it in comfortable ranges so that this debt to income ratio doesn't increase and leave them with too short amount of income to put to other uses. So the fourth number then from there is what we call the liquidity number or liquidity factor. This is how many months of expenses you have in savings. So this comes from that savings rate I touched on previously. To work this one out, once you've got your expenses, work out 3 to 6 months of your expenses. So if you've got that $50,000 a year in expenses, 3 to 6 months is probably in the range of $12,500 to $25,000 to sit in a cash reserve or cash buffer. The amount will be a little bit personal and tailored, and this is a rule of thumb rather than a hard and fast rule. If you're single and younger, 3 months might be fine, or sometimes even a bit less. If you're have a young family, there's 2 kids and a mortgage, it might be at that 6 months or even a little bit more. So this is again a bit of a guide to work by rather than hard and fast rule. So work out what's right for you. But the idea is that money sits in ideally an offset account if you've got a mortgage, or a high interest bank account if you don't. It's not necessarily the best use of the money financially. It might offset 6% instead of getting 8 to 10% in invested. But it's that peace of mind, it's a comfort, and anything above that and on top of that then starts to get invested. So that's the liquidity factor. 3 to 6 months of living expenses is what to aim for. The fifth and final number, and probably the best one, saving the best to last, is your net worth. So this is quite simply your assets minus your liabilities, the balance sheet for those of you from an accounting background. So it's everything you own minus everything you owe. So the way that we do it, and when you calculate yours, don't use cars, contents, vehicles, caravans, and that sort of thing. They're more personal effects. We don't want to necessarily include those here because they have no value from an investment point of view or long-term future in terms of financial status. We look at 2 numbers here. One is your total net worth and one is your investment net worth. So for your total net worth, calculate everything, including your home and home loan, but again, excluding the car, contents, and those type of things. So as an example, say you got $1 million in total assets, you might have an $850,000 home, $50,000 in savings, $100,000 in super. That's $1 million. You've got a $500,000 home loan. So take that off, you've got a $500,000 net worth. So this is what we want to track over time, and with our members do this every 6 to 12 months to see that it is growing. It's not going to go up every 6-month period because of market fluctuations, but we want to make sure that over time it's trending up in the right direction and at a decent rate as well. The second part of this, the net worth aspect, is your investment or investable net worth. So same calculation, just exclude your home, and in this case your home loan as well. So although the home loan has to be repaid for you to achieve financial independence, we have that as a separate pillar. For us, home ownership is one key pillar of financial independence. The other one is having passive sources of income. So this is where calculate the non home aspect of your assets and home loan. So in the previous example, say it was 50,000 in savings, 100,000 in super, and there was no debts associated with anything there. You'd have 150,000 in investment net worth. So quite a bit lower, but that is what needs to grow over time at a decent rate, as I was saying, and quite sustainable rate to build up, because ultimately you want to be a millionaire from a net investment perspective, not just total net worth, because that will include your home. So over time, most people's homes are going to creep up towards being, if not already, worth $1 million or more. And once the home loan's paid off, that automatically makes them a millionaire. But if there's no other assets in place and no other investments, there's no income there. So you're either on the age pension or working until retirement and age pension, or you got to sell up, take that money and live somewhere else. What we want to do is have both. Have that home paid off, and then have at least these days $1 million in net investments that will produce a passive income for your retirement. That gives you financial independence, financial freedom, and ultimately you become a millionaire. So I hope that helped. They're the 5 main numbers to track, and metrics and ratios to track. If you have any questions, reach out. If you need a copy of our budget, reach out. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.